Hello, welcome to Roots of Alchemy and Delaney's Well. My name is Katie Delaney. I'm here with you today to bring you your daily tarot message for July 31st, 2020. So let's go ahead and take a look at the cards for today. The first card that we have is the Six of Swords. And the Six of Swords, traditional meaning is smooth transition through a turbulent situation. The swords are associated with our thinking center, and it's, highlighting where we have been getting triggered possibly with our attention, with different situations that are going on in life and in the world, and how that's kind of shaken things up. This card actually speaks to a shift in that it's a number 6. And so it's bringing balance to that situation. It's, if we look at the figures in this card, they're actually moving out of a situation that's really kind of turbulent and rocky into a situation that's more still and peaceful. And part of that is, in actually bringing balance to what's going on as far as like where we're getting identified and where we're, focusing our attention and our energy and what we think about each and every day. Because it's a lot, it's one thing to have clarity, right? A single sword. But to have 6 swords is a lot that's going on and a lot of different impressions that are coming in that we have to sort out, and it makes our day literally like rocky, almost like the wake of a boat or a ship, and how it shakes up the water and shakes up the emotional aspect of our existence. And part of what's bringing balance to how, to our impressions in the world is really actually recognizing how it's affecting our emotional well-being and how we feel literally about our day each and every day. And so this card here is speaking to a shift, literally from, this sense of being really, really agitated mentally to finding a place of peace and stillness. When we go to the second card here, it's the Three of Swords. And I usually, when I'm reading cards, I don't typically read them upside down or right side up as far as differentiating that, because they're both present in every situation in, when we consider life. But this came out this way, and I thought it was actually quite interesting in consideration of what we've all been going through in the last few months. And the Three of Swords is all about worry, and mental anguish. You see 3 swords that are, going through the heart, and it's really like what we are thinking about can be destructive to our emotional life and our physical life. And we often forget that, that those 3 centers are really integrated in our experience. And as much as we would like to control things by thinking about things and trying to plan things, we're all actually in a situation right now where there's quite a big deal that's actually out, or a great deal of things, a great number of things that are out of our control. And so it can be really trying to us mentally and emotionally to try to plan things and try to have foresight over things that ultimately could be changed and shifted regardless of how much energy we've put towards it. And so this card, it being upside down actually speaks to me in a different way, because it's actually almost like a surrendering of sorts, like in this direction, the swords go deeper into the heart, whereas in this direction, it almost has an energy of the hangman, and that it's like an upside down, and swords can fall out this way when there's like a release and there's like a letting go and surrendering to what's happening and realizing that some things just need to drop away. And part of that is our mental anguish and our sense of worry and our sense of control and our need to control, because the situation is somewhat out of our control, right? And this speaks to that, you know, like some things just need to wash away for us to realize really what is important, and for us to heal, and for us to put our time and attention towards what is practical and what is, you know, going to enrich our experience. And so in this third card that we have here, we have actually a really beneficial card. In the whole 78 card system of Tarot, this is one of the 3 most beneficial cards. And it is the 6 of Cups. And the cups are referencing our emotional well-being and our relationships and how we interact and are connected with our community. And the 6, again, just like in this first situation, because the 6 means numerologically the same thing, it's balance, you know, it's bringing balance to our emotional relationships. And this card traditionally means an emotional wish come true. And so, you know, I ask you to consider that, you know, if you look at your day, for instance, and if you were to put a measure on where you spend your time, right? Like in anguish, and like if it's really like been useful in a way, or if there needs to be some kind of release there, and what's behind that, right? Like what's behind like the clinging to trying to control everything and work, you know, trying to like look ahead in a situation that we really don't know what it's going to look like. And actually what's behind this is actually some really true connections, and seeing what's actually important and what's present with us each and every day, and what we can connect with each and every day. And this card highlights those connections, right? It highlights, you know, emotional connection and an emotional richness to our lives that is, you know, possibly we were only really able to discover it through this storm, you know. So that's an interesting riddle of life that we all get to look at and reflect at down the road. Is that, you know, sometimes storms ultimately, like, yeah, there's a lot of damage done. And I'm speaking, of course, like metaphorically to what's happening right now in all of the world, and what's happening in our personal lives as well. But in storms, you know, there can be a lot of damage done. But ultimately, what rises up out of the storm, and what's like the beauty of the rainbows that come out of storms, is like the emotional bonds and the connections that are found despite it. And so it, you know, it highlights, you know, like perhaps what we've all been kind of trained and conditioned to focus on in life as what's important. Perhaps that big shift in like our lack of control over how that whole planning thing turned out, perhaps behind that there's like actually something else going on in life that's really about the connections that we have, the relationships that we have, nurturing those, and, you know, finding time to share with one another, rather than like finding all these ways to spend our time in anguish, literally. And what is the cost, you know, of that to ourselves emotionally and physically, and to our relationships? And how can we move beyond that and release the pain and suffering, so that we can actually see what's been there for us and what is there for us to see behind it. So these are our cards for today. If you have any interest in getting a reading from me, please reach out to me at rootsofalchemy@gmail.com. I offer 2 different sets of readings right now. I can look at your natal chart astrologically and what's going on astrologically right now, so we can see where the transits are happening right now and how they're affecting your life, and where these shifts are showing up, and, you know, when we'll start to see movement and where you can see growth. And then, of course, I also offer tarot readings. I read with this deck that I hand drew about 10 years ago. It's the second deck that I drew. And what I do when I give people tarot readings is first we take about 10 minutes to look at your astrological transits that are happening right now, just because those tend to show up in your reading. And I always think it's interesting when they do. And then the reading itself is also an astrological layout. So we'll choose 12 different cards for each different house. So we get to look at the different areas of your life and what's going on for you. And those are typically annual readings. And sometimes I do those for people every 6 months, depending on if they need, how intense the time is and things like that. So if you have any interest in that, please reach out to me and let me know. We can connect either through Zoom, or I can make a recording, whichever is convenient. And other than that, I hope that the reading today offered you some guidance and some support through the rocky waters that we can all kind of find ourselves in. And I guess I just invite you to, reach out to connect with someone, whether it's through an email or a phone call or a text message, and just remind someone that, you appreciate them, and that also reminds you that you have a community around you, even if you may be in an isolated place right now. And to, if you find yourself in a situation where you are possibly mentally fixated on something that you might discover brings you tension in your body, to practice releasing that in either like through breath or through finding something in your experience right in that moment that brings you a different impression or sensation, whether it's, a dragonfly cruising by, or, the warmth of the sun on your skin, or the sound of a clock, or, something that's outside of that mental hook that is stealing your day. And yeah, I wish you well. I wish you dragonflies in front of your eyes and beautiful moments of connection with people that you love. And I will see you again soon. Many blessings to you.